Good day, everyone. I am Rangela Valenzuela-Consing, and I was assigned to report the Chapter 9, the Grading and Reporting System. In this chapter, we will explore and learn the assigning of grades to students and how it should be done in relation to the intended learning outcomes, and the grading policies of schools must also be taken into consideration in developing a grading system. So now let's proceed and let us know what is the intended learning outcomes for section. Section intended learning outcomes. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to demonstrate skills in preparing and interpreting grades. You should be able to assess the effectiveness of parent-teacher conference as a venue for reporting learners' performance. Next is the chapter intended learning outcome. At the end of this chapter, you are expected you are expected to demonstrate skills in interpreting test results and reporting of grades. So, there are many ways on how to assess student learning during and after instruction. However, crafting the assessment is not the end of the teacher's work. One of the challenges in grading is that after the assessment, teacher will have to summarize the variety of collected information from different types of assessment and come up with a standardized numerical grade or descriptive letter rating or brief report. So here are the guiding premises in developing grading and reporting system. The primary goal of grading and reporting is communication. Just like, for example, is the communication or the interaction between the parents and the teachers. Second is grading and reporting are integral parts of the instructional process. Third, good reporting is based on good evidence. Lastly, changes in grading and reporting are best accomplished through the development of a comprehensive reporting system. So now, here are the K-12 grading of learning outcomes. The K-12 assessment is learner-centered and considers its learning environment system. 21st century skills such as research, analytical, critical, practical, and creative are part of the indicators included in the K-12 assessment. So, learner centered is a style of teaching and learning where the instructor focuses on the individual learners and each of his or her needs instead of the curriculum as a whole, and where the teaching shifts from the focus on the teacher to that of the student. For example, the teachers allow student choice and autonomy. Use of open-ended questioning techniques encourage students' reflection and collaboration in group projects. Next is the formative assessment. Formative assessment. Both cognitive and non-cognitive skills, which includes values, motivations, attitudes, behavior traits, and interpersonal relations, are part of the assessment. Formative assessment, or the assessment for learning, is given importance to ensure learning. So in here, assessment for learning is any use of assessment that is primarily intended to improve rather than measure learning. Formative assessment results need to be used to improve instruction. So, some of the formative assessment example are class discussion, clicker questions, and weekly quizzes. Next is assessment as learning happens when learners are encouraged to take part in the process of self-assessment. So, assessment as learning appears when students are their own assessors, students monitor their own learning, ask questions, and use a range of strategies to decide what they know and able to do. How to use assessment information for new learning. Next is the assessment of learning or summative form of assessment is included. Assessment of learning or summative form of assessment refers to strategies designed to confirm what students know, demonstrate whether or not they have met curriculum outcomes, or the goals to certify proficiency and make decisions about students' future programs or placement. Example for the assessment of learning are the final projects, presentation, and periodical examination. K-12 curriculum assessment will be standard-based to ensure that there is standardization. So, in K-12 curriculum assessment will be standard-based to ensure that there is a standardization in teaching and learning. So, in education, the term standards based refers to the system of instruction, assessment, grading, and academic reporting that are based on the students demonstrating understanding or mastery of the knowledge and skills they are expected to learn as their progress through education. So the Department of Education or DepEd issued an order, DepEd Order number 31, section 2012, stating that assessment will be done in 4 levels and will be weighted accordingly. First is knowledge, second is process, third is understanding, and fourth is products or the performance. So, first is knowledge. It refers to the essential content of the curriculum, the facts and information that the student acquires. Second is the process. It refers to the cognitive acts that the student does and facts and information to come up with meanings and understanding. Understanding. It refers to the lasting big ideas, principles, and generalizations that are fundamental to the discipline which may be assessed using the facets of understanding. And lastly, products and performance. It refers to the real-life application of understanding as shown by the student performance of authentic tasks. At the end of the quarter, the students will be described based on the prescribed level of proficiency which has equivalent numerical values. Proficiency level is computed from the sum of all the performances of the students and various levels of assessment. First is beginning. Second is developing. Third is proficient. Fourth is approaching proficiency. Lastly is advanced. So the first level, student at this level struggle with his or her understanding or prerequisite and fundamental knowledge skills that have not been acquired or developed adequately. Developing The student at this level possesses the minimum knowledge and skills and core understanding but needs help throughout the performance or authentic task. Uh, Next is approaching proficiency. The student at this level has developed the fundamental knowledge and skills and core understanding, and with a little guidance from the teacher and with some assistance from peers can transfer this understanding through authentic performance tasks. Fourth is proficient. The student at this level has developed the fundamental knowledge and skills and core understanding and can transfer independently through authentic performance tasks. And lastly is the advanced. The student at this level exceeds four requirements in terms of knowledge, skills, and core understanding and can transfer them automatically and flexibly through authentic performance tasks. Here is the translation of translating this level into its numerical value is described in the table. Level of proficiency, beginning, developing, approaching, proficiency, proficient, and advanced. The equivalent of the equivalent in numerical value of beginning is 74% and below, developing 75 and 79%, approaching proficiency 80 to 84%, proficient 85 to 89%, and lastly the advanced 90% and above. So, to have a concise comparison of the levels of proficiency, let us look at this table. Uh, the indicators is acquisition of skills and understanding. So, in the beginning, struggling or have not acquired. For the developing minimum, approaching proficiency fundamental, proficient fundamental, advanced student exceeding, and transfer of knowledge application of knowledge for the beginning, none for the developing student needs help for the approaching proficient C with little guidance from the teacher or some assistance from peers, and for the proficient student is independent, and for the advanced student are automatic and flexible. So now, let's proceed to the effects of grading on students. So, dito, alam naman natin kapag mabibigyan tayo ng mga magagandang marka ng guro or magagandang comments sa panahon ng may mataas tayong marka sa kanya ay magiging masaya tayo or magiging overwhelmed tayo, at upang sa ganon sa susunod na assessment ay mas pag-iigihan pa natin or i-maintain natin kung ano yung marka na nakuha natin. So, on page 1958 conducted an investigation to how grades affects the students. It is evaluated that students who receive grades with standard comments achieve significantly higher scores and the next test or assessment than those who receive only a score and grade. So in here, those students who receive individualized comments did even better. This lead him to conclude that grades can have a beneficial effect on the student learning when accompanied by a specific or individualized comment from the teacher. So, next, based on in the study, its relevance are the grades can be used in positive ways to enhance students' achievements and performance. So, grades can really affect the students' next step in learning. Therefore, teacher must use their grades wherein students get the opportunity to do better and improve their performance. So, mas maigi nga na yung guro is magbibigay ng magagandang comment upang sa susunod na performance ng mga bata ay mas ibibigay nila yung best nila at pag-igihan nila. Another relevance is positive effects can be gained with relatively little effort on the part of teachers. Stamps or stickers with standard comments, such as this could be easily produced for teachers to produce for teachers. So, it is true that when students get good comments or compliments from the teachers, good comments or compliments from the teacher, the student feel positivity and get energized in the class. So, as a student, we all feel the same way of how our grades affect us. We may get both the grade and comments from the teachers. Apparently, we feel deeply glad if we get good higher grades and make us become motivated to do better and in the class for maintain it. On the other hand, some some may feel hopeless and demotivated because of getting low grades. Above all, teachers should take into consideration of thinking how grades affect the students. Next is the building and next is the building a grading and reporting system. The basis of good reporting is good evidence. Whatever is prepared and required of the teachers when it comes to format. Grading and reporting should provide high quality information to interested person by means of my schema they can understand and use. So, in the absence of good evidence, even the most detailed and high-tech grading and reporting system is useless. It simply cannot serve the basic communication functions for which it is intended. So there are three qualities that can contribute to the goodness of evidence. So first is the validity, reliability, and also the quantity. So the validity, it refers to the opportunities and adequacy of interpretations made from the information. Reliability refers to the consistency of assessment result. And lastly, the quantity. The more sources of evidence on student learning, the better the information can be reported. So, for example of the validity, if an assessment is to be used to describe the student's reading comprehension, evidence should actually reflect reading comprehension and not other irrelevant factors. Another example for the reliability is attain very similar scores when the same assessment procedures are used with the same students at two different times. Results have a high degree of reliability. For the example of quantity, any single source of evidence of students' learning can be imperfect. It is essential that multiple sources of evidence and grading and reporting students is utilized. Lean and grown 2000, and Stiggins 2001. The basis of such high-quality information is theoretical evidence in student learning. Evaluation experts stress that if one is going to make important decisions about students that have broad implications, such as decisions involve grading, the more that good evidence must be ready at hand. So, let's move forward for the percentage grade, or are the ultimate multi-category grading method. Also can range from 0 to 100 and generally more popular among high school teacher than elementary teacher. So one example of this method is our elementary statistics subjects. So way back when we are in first year college and the grading system for that is particular subject is major exam 30% and major project 30% and class assessment 40%, total of 100%. So another example per percentage grade is when the teacher give the criteria for judging. The example, uh, when there is a performance task and they will give a criteria just like what I'm saying lately, uh, and ang nasa criteria is creativity 50%, proper attire 30%, and timeless 20%, total of 100% like that. And in percentage grade there is a advantage and disadvantage. The advantages of percentage grades allows for maximum discriminators in evaluation of student achievements and performance. Maximize the variation among students, making it easier to choose student for honors or representative for special programs. Next is the disadvantages of percentage grade. Requires a great deal of abstraction, interpretation of meaning of a percentage grade, extremely difficult. The cutoff are no less arbitrary but a lot more. Next is because of a large number of categories, of grade categories, it is less reliable and more subjective. So next is the standard-based grading. So standard-based grading, Josh Gray and Bailey 2001 identify 4 steps in developing standards-based grading. These steps are identify the major learning goals or standards that a student will be expected to achieve. Identify the major learning goals or standards that student will be expected to achieve at each grade level or in each course of study. Second is establish performance indicators from the learning goals. Third, determine graduated level of quality benchmarks for assessing each goal or standard. Lastly, develop reporting tools that communicate teachers' judgment of student learning progress and culminating achievements in relation to the learning goals and standards. The advantages of but before that, I want to give an example for the standard-based grading. One example of this is when the students are graded basing on the rubrics that is given. Usually, this is range from 1 to 4 reflecting ladder of mastery. Next is the advantages of standard-based grading. When clear learning goals or standards are established, standard-based grading offers meaningful information about student achievements and performance to students, parents, and to others. Second, if information is detailed, it can be useful for diagnostic and prescriptive purposes. Lastly is facilitate teaching and learning processes better than any other grading method. And the disadvantages is takes a lot of effort. Second, often too complicated for parents to understand. Lastly, may not communicate the appropriateness of students' progress. Now let's move forward to the pass or fail grading. It is the simplest alternative grading method available to educators, reduces the number of grade categories to just two. It was originally introduced in college in order for students to give more importance to learning and less to grades they attain. By lessening the emphasis on grades, many educators believe that students would be encouraged to take more challenging subjects. So, in here, pass or fail grading, uh, in here, so you will be marked pass if your grade is satisfactory and fail if your grade is unsatisfactory. And basically, it operates on a binary grading system, meaning that no letter grade will be recorded on your current college transcript. So here are the advantages of pass or fail grading. Simplifies the grading process for teachers and students. Second, use of a single minimal cutoff and only two grade categories improve the reliability of grade assignment. Third, pass or fail grading has the potential to make learning environments more relaxed by focusing student attention on learning rather than on grade. Lastly, pass-fail grading is what students will face in many real-life situations. The disadvantages is the students gain very little prescriptive information. Second, students spend less time studying if pass or fail grading is used than when a wider range of grading systems is utilized. Third is students only study to attain minimum passing level and show less effort in striving for excellence. So dito, uh, yung mga mag-aral ay naghahanda lang or nag-study lang upang sa ganun is makapasa sa exam. Hindi yung walang effort na naganap to striving for excellence. In this table, here are the summary of the different grading methods that was already discussed lately. So let's move forward for the developing effective reporting system. So the most critical issue to be addressed in selecting the tools included in reporting system is what purpose or purposes it is to serve, why we need to convey this information, and what we need to accomplish. To determine the purpose or purposes, Three aspects of communication must be considered. A critical aspect in determining communication purposes. First is what information or messages do we want to communicate? Second is who is the primary audience for that message? Third is how would we like that information or message to be used? Tools for comprehensive reporting system. Reporting system most highly regarded by parents typically include a mix of traditional and more modern reporting tools. Tools that might be included in comprehensive reporting system is first is report cards. We all familiar about this. Second is the notes attached to report cards. Third is standardized assessment report. Fourth, phone, phone calls to parents. Fifth, weekly monthly progress report. And six, school open houses. Seven, newsletter to parents. Eight, personal letter to parents. Nine, evaluated projects or assignments. 10. Portfolios or exhibits of students' work. 11. Homework assignments. 12. Homework hotlines. 13. School web pages. 14. Parent-teacher conferences. 15. Student-teacher conferences. 16. Student lead conference. So these tools are all self-explanatory, and this will greatly provide a comprehensive and comprehensive report in order to clarify instructional objectives for students, provide information on personal social development of the student. So in addition, these tools enhances our motivation, and for parents, this will help to communicate objectives to parents so they can help promote learning and communicates how well objectives being met. So parents can better plan and a lot of functions which will surely help the reporting system successful. So there are guidelines for the better practice. To ensure better practice of grading and reporting system, the following statements serve as guide on how to utilize effectively the grading and reporting system. First, begin with a clear statement of purpose. Second, provide accurate and understandable description of learning. Lastly, use grading and reporting to enhance teaching and learning. Planning and implementing parent-teacher conference. The parent-teacher conference is the most common way teachers communicate with parents about student progress. So, dito natin malalaman kung bakit nagkakaroon ng communication ang parents and yung teacher. There are two types of parent-teacher conference based on two purposes. First is group conference. These are conducted in the beginning of the year to communicate school and class policies, class content evaluation, procedure, expectation, and procedure for getting in touch with teacher. So, sa group conference, example dito yun, pagkakaroon ng meeting to mga policy ng school at ang individualized conference naman, these are conducted to discuss the individual students' achievement, progress, or difficulties. It is important to plan the conference to be prepared. It means having all the information well organized in advance and knowing what to achieve from the conference. It will include a list of areas pertaining to students that need to be discussed with the parents. So here are the checklists for conducting parent-teacher conference. First, plan each conference in advance. Second, conduct the conference in a private, quiet, and comfortable setting. Begin with class discussion of positive student performance. Next, establish an informal professional tone. Encourage parent participation in the conference. Be frank in reviewing student strengths and weaknesses. Review language skills. Review learning targets with example of student performances that show progress. Avoid discussing other students and teachers. Avoid bluffing. And lastly, identify 2 or 3 areas to work on in a plan of action. So, ang mga checklist na ito ay makakatulong upang sa ganun magiging epektibo yung conference or ugnayan ng teacher at parents ng mga mag-aaral. So, the conference is an ideal time to discuss and point out specific areas of strength and weaknesses that is not communicated through report card. Note that conference is not a lectures type of gathering or meeting. It is a conversation. Listening is the primary key to understanding. Listening to parents will help the teachers understand the students better. So that's all. That's all about the chapter 9, and thank you for listening.